Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Titanfall 2. One of the few standout games to release during the Xbox One's launch window, Titanfall promised a fast-paced, action-packed multiplayer experience with innovative gameplay mechanics. Unfortunately, thanks to the lack of a single-player campaign in Titanfall's basic multiplayer suite, the game just didn't have the staying power that anyone had hoped for. Now that Titanfall 2 is launched, it's time to find out if Respawn Entertainment have learned from their mistakes. Titanfall 2 takes place in a system of planets known as the Frontier, where the battle for control rages between the Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation and the Frontier Militia, due to the abusive treatment of planetary resources and civilian populations by the former. Players control Jack Cooper, a militia rifleman who, during the chaos of a mission gone wrong, finds himself stranded in enemy territory with his former squadmates Titan. Cooper must work with BT-7274 to join up with the militia forces and stop a cataclysmic attack from destroying entire militia-occupied planets. The game's plot is pretty simple and honestly works best as a delivery method for some awesome set pieces and shootouts. That's not to say that it's not worth paying attention to, it just doesn't drop needless info on you and instead chooses to keep a steady stream of action coming your way, and it's so well paced with just enough time given between each oh my god moment to keep the next one feeling even bigger and more exciting than the last. On top of that, each section is capped off by a boss fight that serves as an introduction to new Titan builds that you'll eventually run into, bookending each mission effectively. While there is a massive focus on action, the game does allow some downtime for Jack and BT to speak to each other constantly, and having these optional dialogue prompts allows both characters just enough room to grow, although BT undoubtedly comes away as the star of this piece. Alongside its surprisingly fun narrative and characters, Titanfall 2 brings some awesome Blomkamp-style futuristic visuals to the table, with plenty of intricate character and Titan designs and varied environments to blast your way around. The game's visuals are at its best when you're zipping along walls and through corridors at a breakneck pace, and thankfully the game performs flawlessly to accommodate this. Titanfall 2's sound design is appropriately hectic as well, whether it's the grand score accompanying the action on screen, or the various sounds of battle that follow your every move. The game's voice acting stands up to the rest of Titanfall 2's high quality, though as I said earlier, BT stands out as the most memorable character, with much of that being thanks to Glenn Steinbaum's emotionless delivery of certain lines, leading to plenty of humour. Even though BT may steal the show, Matthew Mercer, who provides the voice for Cooper, does a fair job when it comes to interacting with BT and making it feel almost human. In addition to its stellar presentation, Titanfall 2 improves on its predecessor in practically every way. The core gameplay once again strives to deliver a Call of Duty style shooter but with a focus on agile movement, and though its predecessor nailed those concepts pretty well, Titanfall 2 makes things just that little bit smoother. The gunplay is tight and responsive, and in fitting with the rest of the game's mechanics, it's incredibly quick. Wall running is still just as easy as it ever was, and will allow you to zip along walls whenever you're in midair near them. The game's double jump works in tandem with the wall run system perfectly to keep you building momentum until you inevitably screw up. These traversal mechanics are brought right to the forefront in the single player campaign. You'll constantly find yourself outmanned and outgunned, so maneuverability is your greatest tool, allowing you to creatively flank or escape enemies where necessary. If you accidentally stray too far into enemy territory, your single player build comes equipped with a stealth cloak, so at least you can back down if things get a bit too hairy. These mechanics are also utilised well for simple platforming sections, although they certainly increase in complexity before the game is through. Wall running and double jumping between moving walls along a conveyor belt is barely the tip of what Titanfall 2 has to offer, with almost Portal-like puzzle platforming thrown into the game's later stages. The single-player campaign is broken up nicely between Titan and Pilot sections, and just when you're starting to feel like you haven't seen one style of gameplay in a while, bam, the game has switched it up again. Honestly, Titanfall 2's campaign is so well structured. I can't think of many other games that have kept me so engaged while never really adding more than a couple of new mechanics for its duration. One of the few complaints I can level at the campaign is that it works well as a practice ground for about 90% of the multiplayer, but manages to leave out a few key mechanics that it could probably stand to have included. The main one that comes to mind is the game's grappling hook. When it came time to play the multiplayer, I had zero clue on how to use it, so it would have been nice to have a controlled environment in which to play around with this new gear. But that would just be nitpicking, and like I said, Titanfall 2's campaign does prepare you for roughly 90% of the multiplayer, and a lot of this is thanks to the wide array of weapons and Titan loadouts available to you throughout the course of the game. Each Titan plays differently, from the damage-heavy, slow-moving Scorch to the nimble, close-range Ronin, but no matter what Titan you pick, they all feel great to control. There's a nice sense of weight to each mech, and though they don't control all that different to pilots, it's a nice change of pace nonetheless. Having access to all these Titan builds and weapons throughout the campaign made it so that when I did finally dive into the multiplayer, I had a good idea of which builds and loadouts would suit my playstyle best. In terms of the game's multiplayer offerings, there's plenty to enjoy. There are a decent amount of modes on offer, ranging from the game's traditional attrition mode and pilot-only battles, to new modes that force you to cash in points after you score a kill. You're also constantly unlocking gear or cosmetic items thanks to the game's unique merit-based leveling system, and constant use of weapons means more unlocks will be available as you play with them. Even in the middle of the action, you'll gain access to titans and tactical bonuses if you perform well, though these rewards will trigger eventually even if you're like me and not very good. Alongside the game's fantastic design choices, Titanfall 2 runs like an absolute dream, even with its rather diminutive player base at launch, and I've not run into any noticeable lag or disconnections in my entire time playing it. And if multiplayer isn't your thing, then the campaign offers a number of collectibles that are actually really fun to track down, so it really feels like this game has legs. All in all, Titanfall 2 may just be the perfect sequel. Its surprisingly lengthy campaign offers plenty of memorable set pieces, and the moment-to-moment gameplay is just about as solid as a shooter can be. Aside from feeling fantastic, the game looks and sounds amazing, and the multiplayer may be some of the most enjoyable on offer this year. And who doesn't love the idea of having your own robot pal to hang out with? No one, that's who. Titanfall 2 gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of excellent. As a lover of the first game who craved more from Titanfall's potentially incredible world, I've gotten everything I could have wanted. If you enjoyed the first game but felt it needed more substance, then Titanfall 2 is perfect for you. If you happen to miss out on the Xbox One exclusive predecessor, then now's your chance to jump into this awesome franchise. Thanks for watching, I hope you found the review informative. If you missed last week's review on Battlefield 1, or my top 10 best games of all time video, click the annotations. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got to run. Wall run.